Hello one and all. In this video, I'm going to explain about the remaining uh, topic in the edaphic factor, that is soil solution, soil acid, soil pH, soil aeration. Um, and first we'll see about the soil solution. What is soil solution? The solution content which is occur in the soil, generally we called that as a soil solution. Here in this soil solution contains both the organic and inorganic nutrients, because these organic and inorganic nutrients uh, enter into the plant parts through the dissolving state only, through the water only, in dissolving state through the water, because both organic and inorganic nutrients are very important for the growth and development of plant. For absorbing these organic and inorganic nutrients from the soil, it is need to dissolve in the water. The nutrients, organic and inorganic nutrients, need to dissolve in the water. In the dissolving state only, the plants can easily absorb the nutrients from the soil. And here the complex mixtures of minerals, of carbonates, sulfates, nitrates, chlorides, and the organic salts of calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, and all these are found in the dissolved state in the soil. And the soil with more or less optimal concentration of various nutrient solutes are called as eutrophic soils. And these type of soils are support rich vegetation of uh, plants and other ecological factors which are favorable for the vegetation. And the soil which are deficient in the plant nutrients are known as oligotrophic soils. Okay, the plants which are the means the soil which is contains the optimal concentration of various nutrients, those type of soils are called as eutrophic soils. And the soil which contains deficient in the plant nutrients are known as oligotrophic soils. And in oligotrophic soils, the vegetation is very poor, and the roots may become extensive to overcome the shortage of nutrients. And also, excess of nutrients are equally harmful, some of them toxic in the higher proportion, in the case of zinc, molybdenum, and cobalt. In the higher proportion of zinc, molybdenum, and cobalt, it may leads to the harmful of plant growth and development. And some types of uh, nutrients are non-toxic, and also it is increase the osmotic potential of soil. In the case of chlorine, potassium, and sodium sulfates, carbonates, ions, or these nutrients, increasing these nutrients contained in the soil, it will lead the increasing in the osmotic potential. Okay, this is about the soil solution. Next we'll see that soil acid or soil pH. The soil acidity is expressed in terms of pH values, which is defined as a negative logarithm of hydrogen ion concentration. And this pH value of soil shows much correlation with the soil type, vegetation type, and how the pH value shows effects on the plant's growth. Most of the plants thrive well in the neutral or slightly acidic soils. And the slightly acidic soils are favors for the growth of forms forest. And some types of crop plants prefer growing on the slightly alkaline soils. For example, grasses and the legumes. The grasses and legumes are prefer growing in the slightly alkaline soil, and the plants, some types of plants grow on the soils which is high salt concentration, okay, which is we commonly call as a halophytes. And some examples of this type of plants, some type of mosses, ferns, artemisia, rhizophora. And yeah, soil pH also shows effect on the microbial activity. Below the pH 5, the bacterial as well as the fungal activities are reduced. Some soil borne diseases like root rot of cotton and tobacco, root rot of potato, and potato scab may be controlled by lowering the pH of the soil. And as others like club roots of crucifix and rhizoctonia rot can be controlled by increasing in the soil pH. Okay, this is the effect of pH, soil pH on the vegetation, plant vegetation, as well as the biomicrobial activity, as well as plant diseases. Next, we'll see the soil aeration. Soil is a porous structure and it is about 25% of the total volume of the soil filled with the air. And this soil aeration is essential for the proper functioning of the roots. And the absorption rate is rapid in well aerated soil. And the absorption rate is get reduced in oxygen deficient soils. And the soil air is rich in carbon dioxide as compared in the atmospheric air, because here the high concentration of carbon dioxide in the soil air is mostly due to the respiratory activities of soil microorganisms and roots. And this carbon dioxide is soluble in the water and in large amounts may prove to be toxic to the plants. And the next one is oxygen. Here oxygen of soil air is essential for the activity of microorganisms like humans for motion, nitrification, nitrogen fixation, like these type of activities. The oxygen is very important, and it is also required for the respiration of earthworms and other soil fauna. Absence of proper aeration drives away or kill the aerobic organisms and stimulates the growth of anaerobic microorganisms. Some types of facultative anaerobes use nitrate or sulfate as a source of oxygen. In this process, these two important plant nutrients are get converted into gaseous forms. Okay, next we will see about the soil water. The chief source of soil water is a rainfall. The water is required for meeting the metabolic and transpirational needs of the plants. It is also medium through which mineral nutrients enter into the plants. The activities of soil flora and soil fauna and the process of humidification also depends upon the availability of water. And the soil water is derived from rain. And all the rainwater falling in the soil is not retained by the soil particles. Some of it lost as a runaway water and gravitational water. And the rest of water is retained in the soil in various forms. Now we'll see that forms of water: runaway water, gravitational water, hygroscopic water, capillary water, and combined water. First we'll see what is runaway water. Runaway water is the water which moves to low ranging areas after the rainfall or after the precipitation. Generally, this type of water is not available to the plant absorption. The next one is a gravitational water. This is the water which flows downward deeper into the soil under influence of gravity. Okay, the movement of the water deeper into the soil layers. This phenomenon is called as percolation. Within 1 to 2 days, the gravitational water percolates down to the area that is the parent rock area. In this case, we have to call that water as groundwater. Okay, after reaching the water into the parent rock, in that case, we have to call that water as a groundwater. And the upper layer of groundwater is known as water table. The most layer of groundwater is known as water table. And the next type of water is a hygroscopic water. And hygroscopic water is a water which is held by the surface forces of the soil particles as a result of cohesive and adhesive forces. It can be easily removed by the plants. Then next we'll see the capillary water. The capillary water in the soil, it is mainly held between the spaces or pore spaces of the soil particles, forming a system of capillaries. And this is the source of water which is available to the plant roots. And next type of water is the combined water. The combined water does not occur in the free forms. It is found as the hydrated oxides of aluminum, iron, silicon, etc. in the soil. Okay, now we'll see available water. What is available water in the soil? Okay, the water which is present in the soil is the total amount of water is not available to the plants. That total amount of water which is present in the soil is called as whole lot. And of these whole lot, some quantity of water can be absorbed by the plants. This water is called as crescent or available water. Okay, the total amount of water which is present in the soil is called as whole lot. And of this whole lot, some amount of water is absorbed by the plant roots. That amount of water is called as crescent or available water. And remaining water which is not absorbed by the plants is called as ichor or non-available water.